Hey guys, welcome to Off the Reservation, a podcast about outing your grandmother as a liar. You aren't related to all those girls, she's just a hater. Play on, player. I'm Malachi.
I'm El.
And I'm the son of Picasso.
Really though, I am sorry to your grandmother. She's not a liar. She's a wonderful woman and you should respect her as much as you possibly can.
Respect your elders.
Yeah, go visit her. She's probably got cookies, got pastries, maybe.
She's got that good fruit punch.
Kool-Aid.
Oh yeah, that's it. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool Whip. She's probably got Cool Whip.
How's it going, everybody?
Oh yeah. I'm good.
Hey,
I'm good.
this is what, week 4?
Yeah.
This is our fourth
This
episode.
is our 4th episode.
Yeah.
So, congratulations if you're still listening. We thank you very much.
You've
No, we
made it
really
this
do
far.
appreciate it, though.
Yeah, we do.
It was exciting, actually pushing everything live, you know. It was great, you know.
Yeah, we released our first episode the 3rd. We've been recording like in advance. So like today's the
We're trying to stay ahead, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Which isn't, you know, something normal for me. I'm not very, you know.
Oh yeah, I run on artist time.
Yeah.
it's-
You know.
I think it's
So-
called Indian time. Indian time where you show up like 2 hours late.
See, I think artist time is you just keep it running. Like you don't really sleep. You just keep going.
Oh,
keep
that's
going.
different. Okay.
Yeah, no, mine's definitely Indian time.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, hey, I'll be there at 10, and then you show up today at 10 a.m. I'm like, sorry, guys.
Well,
But
usually it's like an hour late. I mean,
yeah, I see. I don't think I'm as bad
Not
as some
you.
people. You know.
See, I allot for Indian time in my day. You know.
See, that's what I'm coming to realize is that you have to do. You know,
Well, the older I get, the more I wish I had more time for naps.
this is true. Well, you know, I was talking about this with a friend because I was like, it used to be because he was telling me how he's managing this one place and he's got a lot of like younger kids. You know what I mean? It's he's got a lot of young kids and on his staff. And he's like, yeah, I don't know how they do it. They're all cool to pick up a 4:30 a.m. shift.
Oh my
And I'm like,
gosh.
it takes me like an hour to like just get ready in the morning. Like I have to get up, I have to stretch, I have to like wake up, you know.
Put on the
and,
icy hot.
And I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, I remember there was a time in like my early 20s where like I was like, yeah, I could get up and be out the door in like, you know, 10 minutes, you know, and like, yeah, I could go work an 8-hour shift, 10-hour shift, 12-hour shift, and I was fine, you know. But now I'm like, gotta wake up. I really do have to stretch. I have to, you know, give myself time to like, I don't know,
Well, that's why I
just
took
be ready.
That's why I took an office job because I was like, I can't handle because I worked in the warehouse. Working in the warehouse was fun and it kept me in shape until it started affecting my knees and my back and like my arms, and pretty soon I was like, man, I need to stretch. I need to take care of myself. Like lifting heavy things all day.
You're like, I'm not going to be young forever.
I know.
All those things my parents told me about getting old, it's happening.
You know what's the messed up part? Is like I remember our grandpa Nelson would like wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and like have a cup of coffee and like do like random stuff. Like he stayed for us for like a little while in his later years, and I'm talking like he was like what, like somewhere around like 80, 90 years old, and
Yeah.
he would like wake up and just be like, yep, let's go ahead and get at it. I'm gonna have my coffee. And I'd be like, man, what are you doing? I'm so tired. Just go back to sleep.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's how all grandparents are. I don't know. I you know, it was like always when you were younger, like your grandparents were always up and they were like making breakfast, you know?
Yeah.
And my mom is like that now too, you know? She's like, well, she's always been like that, but like everybody older than like your parents and it's like, at least, you know, from my perspective, it was always like, how are you up at like 6 a.m. and you've already got like 2
You're
pans of
showered
bacon.
and dressed.
Yeah, you're showered, dressed. You have
Shoes
breakfast for
on.
everybody. I'm like, I don't know, but yeah, I don't know.
Maybe one day I'll get there.
Yeah, maybe that's what we're hoping for.
I think it's different when your kids are, when your kids are a little older. Because, like, I enjoy now waking up, like, an hour or two before them. And it's just, like, a quiet house. And you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, it's peaceful. You can think, and it's always nice.
When you realize that's what your parents that were doing, they just needed
I
some
think
time away from you.
they were like,
They're like, I need some quiet, man. These kids are killing me.
Is that what it is?
yeah,
Because
that's
I haven't gotten there yet. I just want sleep. Nap times all the times.
Yeah, this pandemic like really, really ruined me for nap times. You know, it's like, all right, it's 2 p.m. About time to take that afternoon nap.
Man, it's crazy to think about. Like it's what, year 3 of this pandemic now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
going into the 3rd year now. Yeah.
We all still alive.
You know, like 2021, just like I don't remember anything from it. You know what I mean? Like, I still feel like it was like we just turned into 2020. You know what I mean? Like ever since the pandemic started, like I don't know, like time is just weird. You know what I mean? So like it still feels like I was at my job from like 2 years ago, but that was 2 years ago. It doesn't feel like that, you know? So yeah.
Well, I've been working at the same job for the past like 6 years now. So it's just all been one big blur. I mean, it's a warehouse, so you don't really get to notice the passage of time other than through like the interchanging of product. And you'd be like, hey, we're on version 6 of this thing. Like when I started, we were version 4. What happened? Where was I?
Where'd the time
Oh my
go?
gosh, that's the Matrix for you. Right
That's
there.
that's the Matrix. Talking about the Matrix, I saw it last night. It was good.
I've yet to see it. You give it 2
I
thumbs up?
I can totally see why people wouldn't like it, because it's like a rehashing of like the first one, but at the same time, that's the Matrix. And I feel like unless you have like an understanding of like Jungian psychology and like an understanding of like the Matrix and what it is, it's just going to be like, oh, more gunplay, more bullet time kind of a thing. And, you know, I feel like they made it for the people who really got into the Matrix.
They did it for the fans.
They did it for the hardcore fans who like understand things. And I don't know, like when I heard that it was coming out, I like did deep dives into it and
Did some research.
yeah, well, there's this guy, he's a YouTuber, and his name, I think it's like Max Durant, and he did some deep dives. He does a lot of psychology and things like that on his podcast about, and he did YouTube channel, and it deals with some like Jungian psychology, and what else? What was the other thing? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Jungian psychology, and then he's on the spectrum, so a little bit of like what it's like living with autism. And so yeah, if you're definitely interested in like, I mean, if you're one of those people who like want to get deep into it, definitely check out his videos.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm ashamed to say I don't remember a lot from the first 3, and I was gonna watch them, but then I just thought, I don't know. and then like the premiere came and went, and then I was like, I missed it, and now I'm just kind of like, I guess I could still watch it, but
See, I really enjoyed the first Matrix. The first Matrix was, I think, the best, and then I think the other 2 after that, I kind of just got lost in the, like you said, the gunplay.
And I think that's what a lot of it, like, if you think about it, the whole thing is gunplay, but it's all I don't know, heavy like that, like the idea that you have the anima, and I'm totally like pulling this out of the air, like I wouldn't claim to be like an expert, but like the anima, the whole idea of like the oracles, the anima, I might have them mixed up too, and the architect is the anima, the male and the female parts, and then how Smith is the shadow or the subconscious, I think, and then Neo is the consciousness, and how that all plays together, and then all of a sudden you see that reflected in the new what was it, Matrix Resurrections.
I think what's cool is just it's dope art, you know,
Yeah.
like because you have to pull from somewhere to create that whole story plot. You know, like these things weren't just already written and they were like, oh, let's just make a story about it. Like someone had to think about this to create it, and that's I think pretty cool.
Oh, I mean, it totally like feels like it made me question like the idea of the system and how the system is completely meant to control people, and how we as a society are buying into the system of control. Like society is the understanding of like submission into the idea of control, and how like submitting to the laws, submitting to what society is putting on you is being part of the system. And I think that's been the question of like the Matrix movies is it good or is it bad?
See, you know, I think that I'm sorry, not our generation, but I think like in the last few years, like the statement being woke is a little overused. But, you know, applying it to this context, it's like once you start to see, you know, like you were saying, the oppression, it's hard to not look at or not see it everywhere in every circumstance. You know, it's like once you take that red pill or blue pill, you're like, whoa, I can't plug back in and not see it in every situation, from voting to, you know.
But the thing is ultimately you can plug back in. You just have to do it consciously. It has to be your choice. And I like the fact that they allude to the whole thing of like the choice. There's no such thing as choice. Like the whole idea that like Neo had the choice to become the one or not. He really didn't. He didn't have the choice to whether or not to become the one, and he had to actually make the choice as like a conscious decision to become the one, even though he wasn't the one. I don't know. It's very confusing. It's very weird, but at the same time, like it makes perfect sense, because he couldn't become the one until he chose to become the one. But he's been in the system for so long that it was almost necessary for him to become the one. I feel like I just like said yes and no at the same time.
Well, that was Malachi with his expert.
No, not expert. I'm not an expert at all.
Oh, you said not an expert.
I'm not an expert. I just listen to other people's opinions about things.
Just a fan.
Just a very big fan.
Just a big fan here. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
The Matrix. I haven't seen Spider-Man though. I want to see Spider-Man.
I see. I did see Spider-Man. I don't know. Spider-Man was just right there in the childhood, you know. It was just like
Really?
you get to see all. Huh?
It was like
Yeah.
like it was good enough to let you would like see it multiple times. Or
Oh
was it,
yeah.
like
Oh definitely.
Yeah.
This one, yeah. But Spider-Man in general, the character Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
Like when like Tobey Maguire was the
What?
back when he had his movies, like I was like at the right age where I was like, oh, superheroes, you know. And then you see that like first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, and it's like, wow, you know. And then you see all the iterations afterwards. It's very cool, you know. It's a very cool thing to have followed all these years, you know. And so yeah, I like Tom Holland too, so his movies been pretty good. And you know, but like superhero movies, like really, like, I mean, before that, like I think the biggest superhero movies that I remember was like Batman, right? Like that was like
Batman.
The old Batmans with like Val Kilmer, Michael Keaton, and then even like
the nipples and no nipples.
Yeah, the nipple suit in Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Like we were just kids, you know what I mean? Did you remember you said you had a Batman suit?
I had a Batman suit.
Did it have the nipples? Because it was around that. I think it was around that time, man.
I was a child, and I hope it wasn't showing my nipples.
I just read an article the other day where it was like the Joel Schumacher, who was the director for those, you know.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, he was the one who had the idea for it, you know. It wasn't like he was like, I need nipples on these on these suits. We need more nipples. No, it wasn't that. It was that he was trying to like bring the suit back to a little bit more like accurate like anatomy, you know, and like you know, because it was just bulky. It was
a
bulky.
suit.
You know, it was like a bulky suit with like Michael Keaton, and I guess even Val Kilmer was kind of a little bulky. So he's trying to make it look a little more sleek, a little more cool.
Yeah.
And he told the artist that was gonna like kind of put the design together. He was like, you know, look to like Greek, like Greco-Roman, like statues and like what are those, you know? And so that's why everything in there looks very like, it's like even like the world is like they have like these crazy statues that just look like it's something out of like Greece or something.
Yeah.
But it makes sense now. I'm like,
It
okay.
makes sense.
But now I'm like, but really, you know, you.
But when I think of like ancient Greece and like the Greco-Roman idea of like art, I don't think nipples.
And yeah, you know, and the thing that everybody bashed them on was like in the beginning when they're suiting up, it's like a zoomed in shot. You know what I mean? It's like okay, they're putting on their gloves, they're putting on their mask, you know, and then it like zipping up something, and then it zooms in on just like the nipples. It's like what? Okay, you're definitely highlighting those. But yeah, no, I saw Spider-Man. Spider-Man was good.
Well, here's the thing: is like I remember watching Spider-Man on like Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I don't remember it was like the Amazing Spider-Man or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like the super intense like opening, the dun-dun-dun-dun.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, this is how you start a morning, right? Spider-Man in the morning.
That was when I really like wanted to start making comic books in general.
Comic books.
That was what really got me into wanting to like draw. You know what I mean? And I remember getting this really cool Marvel how to draw characters from the Scholastic Book Fair in like 4th grade. And, you know, it had like all of the characters, you know, and it was like, okay, you know, like when you create a body, you know, it should be this many heads tall, you know, and, you know, so it's like going through all this stuff and you're like, man, this is really cool, you know? Yeah. And it had like these cool little like trace your own character, you know, it had like a tracing paper over like the thing, you know? And then like I went through that whole book, man. I was like, this is cool.
See,
and yeah, so after that, that's when I wanted to start making like comics and stuff, but I went through a phase.
See, like you guys had the cool like the ability like to draw. Like automatically, I feel like you guys had like the ability to draw things a lot easier. Like for me, when I wanted to draw, like it was something I'd like have to like study at and like practice. And I fall into that category of people who like if they're not automatically good at it, they just quit. And so like when I started drawing, I was like, because I got the same book. I feel like we all had the same book at one point.
Thank you, Stanley.
Thank you, Stanley. Well, I tried, and like automatically they were like, "All right, let's draw a hand. All right, do the pipe work of it and everything." And I was like, "I just want to draw cool people. Come on, man. Like, just let me." And eventually I would like look through it and I found the trace paper and I was like, all right, let's just trace this.
You know, this works for me.
You're holding it up to the light. Like, all right, it's just right.
Yeah, so I did the tracing part of that. I didn't do the whole like making the person. I don't even know how many heads it's supposed to be high or.
I think it's 7. I don't know. Honestly, I didn't really follow the rules either. At a certain point, I just started like trying to mimic what I saw in there, you know, and I didn't read it all the way through. So I'm sorry, Stanley.
Well, you got pretty good at drawing Homer.
Yeah. Well, so that was in my comics like phase, you know. Like,
Yeah.
I went through a Homer Simpson phase, you know.
Yeah.
Drawing Homer Simpson on the back of the
Church van.
church bus, coach bus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only getting the eyes and the nose done.
Yeah, that was
And then everybody wondering what I was drawing, and
freaking
it just
out.
wasn't good. Don't draw Homer Simpson on the back of a church bus.
Unfinished Homer Simpson.
Yeah, unfinished. Yeah, that's the key word there. What about you? What was your like? How did you get into drawing and art?
Oh gosh, I don't know. When I was a kid, I always liked to draw, but it was one of those things where I would draw something and I knew it looked bad. Like, and I'm talking like little, like I had high expectations, like younger than like my kids. And I would take what I drew into my dad and I'd say, "Hey Dad, can you draw me as like a spaceman?" And he'd look at it and be like, "Well, you already did a good job." And then like he would go through and like add detail and finish, you know, what I drew.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I remember like that was one of the first times I really enjoyed drawing, because it was like that affirmation of like him saying, hey, what you did was pretty good, kid.
Yeah.
You know, so
I think you need that, right? As a
Yeah.
young child in anything you're doing. You know what I mean? Just that like that nod of like, hey, you're on the right track. Yeah. But and then I also remember seeing like your guys' dad doodle. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
yeah.
he just like during like church meetings and stuff, as he's talking about stuff, he had like his bulletin from Sunday morning on the back. He just, as they were thinking, he just doodle, you know? And it was like, I'd always be like, I know exactly what that is. That's awesome. You know, like, and
see, I look at all of his old doodles and I look at him and I tell him now, I'm like, Dad, you would be such a great graffiti artist. You just need to like, just.
Well, yeah, because it is all just off the cuff. Just like
and
take 10 minutes to do it and that's it.
Yeah. But I also think that's where style comes in, because once he draws something, like, it's very much his drawing. You can see his own style come into it, and it almost gives the painting or whatever he drew a different character or a different life.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and not a lot of people have that.
Well, I remember even seeing him, you know, make like basically just like a caricature of somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like you recognize who that person is, but it, like you said, it's like he had his own style in it, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just so quick, you know what I mean? It was like done in like a 10-minute, 20-minute, whatever, just, you know, in between having to talk and all this different stuff. So I always thought that was pretty cool. Like,
Well, like going to the macaroni, what was it, the macaroni grill? The one where they let you draw on the table?
yeah.
Yeah, that was always fun. He always did like big old. By the time we were done, he'd like have a whole mural sitting out in front of him of like, I don't know, like
People
soldiers.
are like, hey, I'm gonna cut this out and take this home. Like,
You know, that would happen all the time. Like the hostess or the host would be like, can I take that with me? And we'd be like, oh yeah, go ahead. And like they'd rip it off or like go get a different placemat and put it on top and take that one off. It was kind of funny.
well, that was like, I mean, that's your guys' dad. And for those of you who don't know, we're just speaking about Yellow Man.
Yeah, Yellow Man.
Yeah, I mean, he's been an artist for how many years now?
60 years.
All his life,
Yeah.
basically. You know, and if you don't know a lot about Yellow Man or who we're talking about, definitely check out his website. And he's also got some videos on YouTube that kind of like go into talking about how he started and a little bit about him. But check his work out, you know, and you'll see what we mean by style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was just the thing. It was like, you know, even his sketchbook, you know, when he's first like figuring out what he wants to go for, you know, it's really neat. Just as I always get a kick out of seeing artists.
See, I think his sketchbooks are like literally gold. Like I look at them now as reference material.
Yeah.
Because you'll see where he started. Let's just take like the idea of a hand, and he'll draw, like you were talking about, the skeletal structure of it, and I'll see his thought process. And it's kind of crazy because it's taken me this long to be able to decipher his lines, if that makes any sense. Because you like look at artist's picture, like you have no idea what they started first with. You know what I mean? You have no idea. All you just see is a finished,
right,
the finished product.
Right.
And so it's neat to see it start with just, you know, one version, and you'll see him stop. Like you were saying, he would draw for like 5 minutes, and then like the meeting would end, and so you would see him stop in the middle of it and then pick back up and just start redrawing it again on a different page and finish it. So you would see different versions of the same picture in different progressions. And so I look at those now as reference materials, like, okay, this is what he started with, and now, you know, he did this, you know, texture next. He did this definition here. He did put these lines here. And it's just neat to see his thought process, because he's 100% self-taught, you know. It's not like he could go to a professor and be like, oh, hey, what do I do next? Okay, what do I do next? You know?
Yeah.
He very much had to like sit there and be like, you know, this doesn't look right. I got to fix this. Erase.
Yeah. And that's like the hardest thing, I think. You know what I mean? Having the motivation to be like, okay, I can do this better. Let me figure out how, you know, without having anybody else, you know, and be like, oh yeah, maybe you can do this, maybe you can do this, you know? And yeah, for someone who is self-taught, like, yeah, he's got some pretty incredible stuff. But like, yeah, I mean, that same like artistic ingenuity has like passed its way down to you guys, I think, too, right?
I mean, for you, yeah. I mean, son of Picasso, you actually do paintings and other kinds of things like that, doing drawings and things. Like me, I don't I don't do drawings. I make
No,
things.
but I mean, you make art, you know what I mean? And it's while it's not the exact same medium, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still that same, basically it's that same artistic drive to be like, oh, I could do this better. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
And I think that's what pushes artists, I think, right? Is that like, it's this idea of like, I want to make it better, you know, like this. I think we had talked about this before. It's like whenever you see something, you're like, you do, and you know it might actually be pretty good. You know,
yeah.
there's always something inside you that's like, I think I can do it better, or
Yeah.
what can I do to make it better, or
Or make it my own.
yeah,
I am probably my harshest critic.
Oh, definitely.
And I scrutinize everything. I can look at a painting I did 10 years ago and scrutinize it. And like I'm like, oh, don't even look at that. It's horrible. You know, and see things in it that other people don't see. And I can look at some paintings where I'm like, I finish and I'm like, oh, it's my masterpiece. It's my Abbey Road type thing, right? And then like I'll come back and look at it and I'm like, oh, man, what was I thinking? You know what I mean?
yeah.
And
You're like, why did I make that choice?
yeah, and other people, like, they don't even see what I see. You know what I mean? And it in one sense, it's made me a better artist, but it's also made me very critical of other people's art, just to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
And it's a fine line, you know what I mean? Because it was kind of crazy because my father taught me how to paint, but he also taught me how to paint at some of the most stressful times of his career, like getting ready for Indian Market. Like, I don't know if you guys, all the listeners, know what Indian Market is, but it's like a combination of like a powwow in Miami Art Basel. Like it's just huge numbers of people there to shop and buy some of the most best native art on the continent of the United States.
It's like the Mecca for like native art here, you know, in the Southwest, you know, and it's in Santa Fe every year in August.
Definitely.
And so he would be in the middle of trying to get ready for this show, producing some of the most amazing art, and also trying to teach me how to paint at the same time.
Yeah.
And so
And raise a family.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like the whole fact of like raising a family, trying to create art, and then use that art to also provide for your family is like on a whole other level. I mean, it's different than having like a 9-to-5 job where you're working for somebody and you're able to like go to work, do what you have to do there, and deal with the stresses of like an actual job, and then all of a sudden come leave it at work and then come home and be able to visit your family. Like when you're an artist, you wake up in the morning, you take care of your family, you go and try to create something for a couple of hours intermittently while also being like, hey, dad, and you're like, oh, okay, hold on, let me go ahead and handle this, and then all of a sudden go, all right, got 5 minutes, let me come back to this and try to sort this out, and then all of a sudden it's like, dad, and then you're like, okay, I'm hungry now, I need to go do this, I need to do that, and like also like all of that mixed in together, like
It takes a lot of self-discipline,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it does. Because it's so easy to get sidetracked and boom, your whole day is gone. And then you realize, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't work on anything that I said I was going to do because I had to help the kids. I had to take them to school. I had to pick them up. I had, you know, and it was just like, you know, but the amount of self-discipline, even like myself, like I don't make art to sell, you know, right now, but like I do it in my free time, you know.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like, oh, I'm starting this, I have an idea, I'm like, okay, I'll finish this when I have my next free time. Next free time, I'm like, I just kind of want to hang out.
Yeah.
Don't want to do anything.
play
you know?
video game,
Yeah, you
take a
know.
nap.
So there's just so many other things that you can occupy your time with, and I think that's probably one of the toughest things being,
You know,
an
I
artist,
think
right?
that's when I realized that that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, right? So, like, when I was a kid, like, I started, for those of you who don't know, I started painting professionally at the age of 8. And, you know, I had that idea, like, okay, I want to do this for a while. And from the age of 8 to, like, 18, it was something that I enjoyed to do as a child. But I didn't know if I wanted to do it for a career, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of stupid, but I didn't even realize that I had already had a career, you know what I mean, for that long. So, you know, there I am, and I'm like, you know, and I tried doing other things. I tried being an EMT. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. I thought I wanted to be this, that. And, you know, nothing gave me the satisfaction of being an artist, you know, and having that drive to sit down and to focus on one piece, you know, or multiple pieces and be able to get them to completion to where I was happy at. And, you know, when I realized that, I was like, I have a skill that not a lot of other people have. And so transferring that idea of attention to detail and moving it over to a different medium like clothing or sculpture or videos or music or whatever, I've just always enjoyed those types of projects. So it's so cool to work with you guys on this podcast.
Yeah. No, there's definitely a satisfaction level when you realize that you can apply the things that you've learned, or even not even just skills, but just, you know, good habits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Apply that over to something else, you know, especially in the art realm, you know, to be able to like I do videos is my videos, and I like making music, you know, that's like my two biggest passions right now. But it's like, you know, to be able to like, you know, see how like you guys basically, you know, we all do the same thing. Our processes are different, but you know, like you said, like you have to find that time. You have to have the self-discipline. You are your harshest critic. You know what I mean? You're always trying to do better. You know, it's like that's it. That's what drives people. That's what drives us as artists. You know, so.
Well, for me, I mean, I know like one of the things that I got into was doing leather work and that kind of a thing, and making bags. But what, I don't know, this stems from like my childhood, of the idea of like wanting to be a warrior. And I don't know if like any of this is like familiar to you guys, but like the idea of like wanting to be a warrior. Like our grandparents told us stories about like famous natives who fought and stood up for against injustices and for civil rights and things like that. And, you know, even back into like fighting the cavalry and everything, and how the Kiowas, you know, had their own group and they all fought and resisted the government and everything. And you hear stories about like Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull and all these other people. And I was just like, you know what, man, like I wish I could have like been around, so that way I could have like made armor and weapons and things like that. And I would have loved to have been like an armorer, and taking what the things that I know now, like being able to incorporate that. And that's kind of been the basis of the things that I do. Trying to use, I guess they would be like primitive materials, kind of a situation where like I make things like do leather bags, I do arm cuffs and things like that, and trying to incorporate like steel, because so many people, when they make jewelry, they make things like that, the first thing they go to are like the precious metals, the precious stones and things like that. And me, I want to like use things that you can find on the cheap and like affordable. Like it's not cheap. I'm trying not to make it cheap, but I'm trying to like elevate it. Elevate these things to.
Oh, I love the idea of reclaimed materials. I use a lot of that in my work. Right now with my clothing line. You know, because you want to be a responsible consumer. You know, there's so much quick fashion and junk fashion, and there's so many things like, why pull and dig up more earth when there's metals just laying out for you to use? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I remember you saying that, right? Because that was it goes back to like you know,
being
our
indigenous.
heritage. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You don't waste materials.
Right.
You don't waste things. You know, the whole idea of you use every part of the buffalo to make something. And I mean, over the years, we've had like 2 or 3 classic cars, and the leaf springs have gone out, or you know, tires have gone out or something like that. And so we've scrapped some stuff and like kept it, and now I've started making knives out of them, using different pieces.
What's been really neat is taking our fine art background and incorporating that with these materials, because it's one thing you make something reclaimed and you're like, you can see it and you're like, okay, this is like used to be this, but it's another thing to take, I don't want to say like junk, but in essence something that was scrap and elevate it to a high art form. Is it not a lot of people can do,
like something that the general public might see as not having any worth.
Yeah.
Right. And then elevating it to
almost a luxury product.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool. Nice. Well, I mean, hey, we should finish this conversation in a little bit, but maybe let's take a quick break and we'll be back.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks
Thanks.
for listening.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, you can always DM us on Instagram at Off Reservation Podcast, and maybe we'll even answer it in a future episode. Now on with the show. What's up, guys? Here we are back from that short break. Yeah. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys had a nice break. Thank you for listening to those advertisements right in the middle. Hopefully they sounded good and, you'll check them out. Let's see. So what were we talking about right before we left? It was...
We were having a big discussion on art and
on the Matrix, on the
the
art.
Matrix, yeah. Well, speaking of the Matrix and art, right?
Yeah. Transitions.
Ooh, transitions.
Segues. They're not just cool things that roll you around the office.
Exactly. Yeah. Have you ever been on a
mall.
Segway?
No,
Me neither.
I've always wanted to.
I just imagine I would be that guy that like clips a corner and then just goes flying, Like I would try to like take it off a curb or something, because that's just like the kind of person I am. It's like if I have some means of transportation, I need to like see how far I can push it.
Push it to its limit.
Yeah.
Elliot, the extreme Segway rider.
Like a shopping cart or something, It's like, let's see if we can take this down the hill,
Oh my god.
We could do it. Hey, if you guys want us to do one episode where we film Elliot taking down a shopping cart or a Segway, donate some money so we can buy a Segway first, and then we'll see if we can.
What do they always say?
Get one.
Smash that like button.
Yes, smash the like.
Subscribe.
Comment
Subscribe.
segue. Comment section.
Comment Segway. More Segways. We don't have a way for you to send us money yet.
No.
But, do it.
But if you figure it out, let us know. We'll gladly accept it.
Gladly accept it, and we'll get a Segway. So, I don't know. I don't think it should just be you, like, riding down to the Segway.
It doesn't have to just be me. Yeah.
I could try it.
Maybe. I don't know. If
You
I like
go
it that
first.
much, then, the investors, they know what they want to see.
Yeah, the listeners know. We'll let the listeners decide who gets to ride the Segway down the hill.
So back to Segway.
Segways. I think.
No, we were talking about art and
the Matrix, and I think in the art world we get to meet so many different walks of life and different walks of people, and I mean it's always cool when you meet like famous people. Like, was it that one year at Indian Market we got to meet Val Kilmer?
Oh yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
He was really cool. He gave out like buffalo head nickels, which is kind of odd. But I mean, he was really cool. He was a really nice guy. All our aunts lost their minds fawning over him. And I think he had did his famous line, the "I'm your Huckleberry." He said that to my mom and my aunt.
And everybody's hearts just melted.
Yeah.
Well, I remember our aunt pushing us out of the way to get into a picture with him.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so to set the context, because we were talking about Indian Market. And Malachi, you've always been a part of the clothing contest up there.
Oh, yeah,
And
definitely.
you guys were kind enough to let me in on it one year.
Oh, of course.
And so we dressed up and we were in our regalia and everything, and I think we had just finished the competition, right?
You had gotten first place.
Yeah.
you had like a 10-second dance demo.
Yeah, it was a real banger. You know, the crowd really got into that, man.
For real.
I didn't know you could dance like that.
I didn't either. I will say that I did not either. Your dad gave me a quick 5-minute tutorial.
Before I knew it, the music started and you were just around, and the whole crowd went nuts, and I was like, "Whoa, that's Elliot dancing!" And then it ended, and you stopped on beat, and then you were like, "That's it, I'm done."
I remember your dad was like, "No, you can't do that. It's you're not doing it." He basically told me I wasn't doing it right. And also that I was gonna like break some stuff because I was going too intense. It wasn't meant for that right now. So,
well, no, I mean you did great. I mean, my dad later on was like, Elliot did really good. He could have been a great dancer. Like,
could have been a contender.
Who knew you could have joined the was it the Thunder Down Under group? And
the Native American Thunder.
Yeah.
the
Chippendales. Native Magic Mike.
Yeah, you could have been the Native Magic Mike.
But like, yeah, we were up there. We had just finished the competition, and we were off to the side, and then Val Kilmer, because he was a guest, he was guest judge,
yeah,
and he was like, "Yeah, let's get a picture." So we were like, "Oh wow!" So it was cool because he came off to the side and talked with us for a bit and took some pictures with us.
Yeah,
and then our aunts were around, and they were like, "Oh, Val Kilmer." yeah, and then she pushed you out of the way, right?
Yeah, she pushed it. Well, both of us. I think she pushed both of us.
Pushed her way in there because she needed a picture with Val.
Yeah,
and yeah, that was really fun. Thanks, Val Kilmer.
But one of the things I think has always been special is the fact that like New Mexico has always drawn like celebrities, and so like there's been a few. I think like Julia Roberts has a house up in up near Santa Fe.
Here's a cool story. Here's a cool story. So this one time, me and Dad and your cousin Philip, we were up at Taos Pueblo selling paintings in front of the old house, and it was like right after Joe Montana had retired. We were sitting out in front of the arbor, and it was like mid-afternoon. We were sitting there eating our lunch, and then all of a sudden this guy comes walking over the bridge. You know how like our house lines up at the bridge? He comes over and he comes walking up, and he's with his wife. And I had a San Francisco 49ers hat on. And he goes, "That team used to be good." And I was like, "Yeah, I miss Joe." And then he kind of looked at us and he kind of like smiled and he goes, "You guys' work's really cool." And you know, he's standing there with his wife. And then my dad kind of looked and kind of was like, "Is that who I think it is?" And so then he turns around and he walks to like the next little like Pueblo house and looks inside. Then he goes back to cross the bridge, and as he's walking, we're having a debate like, "Is that really Joe Montana? Is that really Joe? Is that Joe?" And so then me and your cousin Philip are all, "Hey, Joe." And he turns around, he looks at us, and he gives us thumbs up. And we're like, "It was Joe Montana!"
Wow.
Yeah. No, yeah. And so he crossed the bridge, and like we were just like blown away. And like he kept, went on his way. But that was really, really cool. Yeah.
Joe Montana. That's so cool.
Speaking of Joes, one time we met Joe Pantalones. Or I'm sorry, that's not how you say his name. What is it?
Come on.
Oh, no.
How do you
Joe
say his
Pantolino?
name? Yeah, Joe Pantolino.
We're sorry, Joe.
Yeah,
sorry, Joe.
I'm not Italian. I don't know. But anyway, the guy from The Matrix, he was so cool. Came into our booth and took pictures with us, and he was just really cool. Actually, that was the second time I had met him. I met him one time at the Santa Fe Celebrity Ski Auction.
Oh.
Like years before.
Celebrity Ski
Yeah,
Auction.
I think that was before you were born, too.
That sounds fun.
Oh, yeah.
All the cool stuff happened before I was born.
I like his performance in La Bamba. Well, I like everybody's performance in La Bamba, to be honest. Man, La Bamba was a good movie. I mean, you think watching it now, yeah, for sure, it's cheesy, but man, it's good. Like it's good cheesy.
It's like classic.
Yeah,
cheesy.
Yeah, you know. Richie, not Richie. Oh man.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so here's the story, because we had actually worked on Longmire a few times. My
Longmire.
father, our father Yellow Man, had worked on Longmire because he had that like native old man look. He
Like
has the
elder.
the elder kind of look. Yeah, so a few times he had worked as an extra on Longmire, and from there, I mean, the rest of us had, intermittent work with them, and what's his name? Lou Diamond Phillips was working on there.
Oh, that was cool. I remember tagging along with you guys on set.
And we got to go in and work on the last episode, and I remember like we were standing there, we were talking, trying to meet him, trying to, tell him that we appreciate like his work for like for I don't know what the word is, for minorities, the work that he's done over the years, and how he's represented minorities so well
on film,
on film and in the industry. And all of a sudden he's like the sweetest guy, the nicest guy. I mean, like he had his parents up there at one point, just the most wonderful guy.
Oh, real personable. He was like taking pictures of everybody if you asked for it.
And he was so cool. The only thing that like he still has a pet peeve over is people yelling out Richie.
Oh,
and
really?
so yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
I'll make
so
sure I won't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't be like on Roxbury. Amelia.
But like, yeah, we're standing there, and all of a sudden this guy comes up. He's like, Richie, and like he's like, hey, what's up? And I mean, the guy Lou Diamond Phillips was still nice.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you could tell that just like got under his skin a little bit, and he was like, hey man, that's cool, and I'll just tone it down. And the guy was like, oh, I'm sorry,
It's cool on the Richie stuff.
He's like, yeah, like he took a picture with him, and
that's cool.
Met him and everything. But like at the same time, you can tell like because that's his like breakout role, that's one of his main roles he's known for. It's kind of it gets to people after a while. After what?
Yeah, I can imagine.
See,
something yelled at you
when he was in Young Guns. That was a good movie.
Oh yeah,
that was a good
one. I recently saw him in that episode of Psych. Do you remember that? And he plays. I think he's like an FBI agent in this, and he's like he works for the police department. Yeah, it's a comedy show. But it's funny because he's like the like really cool FBI agent, and he's like ripped. Yeah, and it's like they somehow find a way to like have a couple scenes where he's got his shirt off, and I'm like, man, Lou Diamond Phillips, good for you, man.
He's still got it, man.
And this was like what, like 10, 15 years ago, But
yeah,
hey, good for you, Lou Diamond.
I'd say he's probably one of my heroes.
Yeah.
See, I remember him when he was in Stand and Deliver too.
Oh yeah, man. He's got a pretty awesome career, and like you said, he's a pretty good inspiration for or been a very good inspiration for like minorities and stuff, representation, and for minorities in film.
Lou Diamond Phillips.
What is his James Edward almost? Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, that was an intense movie though.
It's always really nice though when you do meet a celebrity or like an actor, and they're as like as nice they're as nice as you like hope that they would be, because there's definitely people that you hear stories of like, and you see videos of people like you're like, oh man, that doesn't seem like a very pleasant interaction,
Yeah.
But I could understand being annoyed, right, at the people like taking, I don't know, almost like people feel that they have like
I think it's like they almost make a caricature of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and not like you as a actor. I think.
Or they don't realize that you're a person. You know what I mean? And people go too far, and it's like I could see how people get annoyed with that.
Well, it's almost
it is nice though when you have good interactions.
Well, it's almost like an entitlement of the audience. The audience feels that they're entitled to be able to interact with you
exactly
the same way you are in a film or something like that. Like you play a character who's super nice, and they expect you to be super nice all the time. But when you're just like trying to go to the bathroom, and like somebody's like, "Oh my gosh," like you're like, "Okay, I gotta go take. I gotta take care of some business here, man. Be cool.
Well, like in Seinfeld, where Kramer meets John Voight, and he's like, "Hey, John Voight," just grabs his hand, his arm, and bites him. He's like, "Oh!" And then his cap takes off, and he's like, "What?" It's good to know that you don't have those interactions.
Yeah.
There's not celebrities out there biting people.
But I think like that takes me back to like the idea of like Indian market. Like that's where like the big melting pot of like celebrities who come in and have I feel like they can almost have an anonymity to be able to like go around and be around people.
Oh, because there's so many people, man.
Yeah, because it's so packed with so many people. Like, what was it? There was that year that we thought we saw at Hot Danya.
Oh,
Was
yeah.
it,
Yeah.
70 Show.
From 70 Show.
Yeah, Laura Prepon.
Yeah, and she was, I think we thought she was walking around with her husband or boyfriend. Yeah. And we saw her and we were like, oh my gosh, is that her? And we're like, let's not make a big deal about it. You know?
You don't want to spook them in there.
Yeah.
They're natural.
Like she's just trying to like enjoy like a day out.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to like call attention and make a big issue. But
I did see on her Twitter later that she was in Santa Fe. It was like 3 days later she had posted about it, and I was like, "Oh, it was her! It was her!" And it was just made everything that much more exciting.
But like at the same time, on the other half of it, like being native and being like in that situation of like,
excuse me,
of being an artist. Like there's been times where like we've been sitting there in our booth or like just sitting off to the side trying to like catch a moment to eat your lunch or breakfast or something, and all of a sudden some photographer comes up and takes a picture of you, and you're like in mid-bite, like in the most gross looking way, like making out with your Santa Fe burrito, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, flash goes off in your face, and you're like, what are you doing? And they're like, thank you, and then they run off, and you're like, hey man, like come on,
give a brother some warning, man.
like at least let me like look presentable, man. I still got like my coffee breath, and like I got drool down my face because I was asleep. Because I mean, like the whole situation is like begins at like 6 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then you have to drive, transport your stuff, set everything up, and then you get like an hour, like 30 minutes before it opens. And so you get people taking your pictures, and, I mean, I don't want that out there. Just common courtesy, man. But like I have a term for those, and I call them glass tappers, because they treat you like you're at the zoo, and so they come up and they like ooh, what is this? And they tap your cage, your present, and you're like, hey man, like, be cool, like I'm a human being. You tap that too much, I'm gonna like flip out, freak out.
You tap that too much, I could come out there. I'm not the
sir, please don't tap the glass fish tank.
Yeah. Please don't feed them, they'll bite your hand. But at the same time, like I do appreciate the fact that like people do come from like all over the world to Indian market and get to see us and interact with us. Like I remember, what was it? There was a year that some German exchange students came to Indian market, and I had been dressed up in my regalia, and they were so excited. One of them was wearing lederhosen, and after that, I kind of was like, man, I want to wear lederhosen. They look really comfortable. I mean, they look like
short shorts,
but like overalls and everything. Like
you just feel real secure in your.
Yeah,
you're wearing shorts, but you've got the top, so
it's like a harness, like up top and like shorts.
It's just the right amount of
exposure.
Yeah. Exposure to security levels are just right there.
No wonder they had a complex walking around in those all day.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I feel like I derailed things.
No, that's okay. It was funny. So I mean, you talk about like, when I was I don't know, how old was I? Like, I think it was in like middle school, or yeah, I think it was in middle school because our whole family got like involved with the Into the West project.
Ooh, wow, yeah.
And that production. And just speaking about like celebrity interactions, like I was in these scenes. We were supposed to be, you know, in an Indian school, basically. I don't know if it was specifically. I don't think it was like the Carlisle. I don't know if it was was it the Carlisle Indian School, or was it just an Indian school?
It's been so long, I don't remember.
I don't remember either. But it was in like episode 5 or something, and me and my cousins, we were all dressed up, and they put us in these uniforms, you know, like we were in an Indian school. And I remember the big star there that day was Keith Carradine. Yeah, Carradine. And it was cool because we were supposed to be in like an assembly in this scene, and these kids were performing like this like performance or something. And anyways, we were just audience, you know. So it was cool. We got to sit there all day. And I remember there was these kids to my right. They were just joking around and having fun. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like all of us and our cousins were very like, okay, we're here. Let's do exactly what they say. We're going to be very quiet. We're going to be like
just so professional.
Yeah, you're trying to be, you know, because you're like, oh man, this is nervous. But there was like these kids that were just to the right that were like just hanging out and having fun, you know. And they were joking with Keith Carradine, and you know, he was talking to them, and they were asking him questions, and I was just like, as I was sitting there listening, I was like, that's cool, you know. And like they got to a point where they were talking to him like, hey Keith, you know, let me ask you this and let me ask you this, you know. And he was like, oh yeah, and he was really nice.
That's so cool.
And I thought I didn't really know exactly who he was at the time. You know, I was just so young.
Yeah.
But you know, as I was listening, I kind of like got the idea of who he was as he was like talking to these kids. And I remember we had our lunch break that day. And so we were out there and we were sitting on the side somewhere. We were eating like the sandwiches that they had or whatever we got. And I remember we were sitting there with your parents and I saw him walk by. And for some reason, I just like, I don't know. I wasn't thinking. I was just like
middle school lunchroom.
Yeah, I came walking by and I was like, hey, Keith. And I looked up and waved and he looked back at me and he was just as like nice as, you know, just the nicest person ever. Just kind of gave me the nod of like,
oh, hey, what's
up? You know, like, I don't know who you are, but
we're peers.
Yeah. And I remember as soon as he walked away, your mom was like, Elliot, what did you do that for? You know? And I was like, they're like, no, don't call out the actor like that on set. And I was like, I didn't know. They were talking inside and everybody was having a good time.
Oh, like there's a whole protocol on sets like that, you know?
Yeah, you know, like if you're a background actor, you don't like you don't bother people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can read the room and know when there's an appropriate time to do it, you know? But like, yeah, the guy was probably just like trying to go get some lunch and take his break, you know, from that scene. And
but at the same time, I mean, it wasn't like you like tried to interrupt his like day by like trying to become a part of it. You just
hey, give me an autograph, give me a picture. Yeah, no.
you just like interjected like, hey, what's up? Like
he just looked so confused and like, but in his best like nice, just like, hey, you know, like just gave me the nod, gave me the half wave. Yeah. And like I just remember that your parents were like talked about it for years later. Hey, do you remember when Elliot called out
your best friend Keith?
Yeah, your best friend Keith. Hey Keith, first name basis, you know.
I know.
But that was fun, man. And like being on a movie set is really fun. It really is.
If you ever have the opportunity to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot of waiting, but I mean, it's fun.
It's a lot of just,
I think that's so cool about New Mexico right now is that there's so many opportunities for filmmaking here.
Oh, definitely.
You know, just local people get to meet so many cool people from out of state.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And even just, yeah, like you said, local people, but not even the people on sets, you know what I mean? Like they're here for like maybe a month, you know what I mean? Shooting. Yeah. And they're around town, you know, they'll like go down to, you know, that one market. I remember the kids from Stranger Things. Mm-hmm. They were seeing down at that sawmill market, the one that they put up down by Rio Grande and the
is it the
I-40. Yeah, right there. Yeah, it was just right down that way. Anyways, yeah, it was kind of cool. It's like people met them, you know, they take some pictures, but it's like, you know, it's like people are getting spotted like all the time. You know what I mean? And even like when Breaking Bad was happening, you know, it was like Aaron Paul was everywhere. You know, Bryan Cranston was everywhere, and it's just kind of it's kind of neat, right? Like they have that like in LA, right? Like they'll shut down streets for like movies. You know, it's like so when you drive around, it's just like whatever. You know, they're filming a movie, but it's cool when they do it here. You know, you're like. You see the signs, you're like, oh, there's a movie set down there. Yeah. Oh, I wonder what they're filming. Oh, I wonder who's there, you know?
Yeah, and the curiosity. I mean, you don't want to like go interrupt it because try to go out of your way to try to be into it. But at the same time, you're like, ooh, there's stuff going on around me. Like and it's so I guess new and it's becoming more relevant, more prevalent in Albuquerque.
But I mean, you think about it too, right? Like we're such a small town in comparison to so many of these other towns where they shoot, you know? So it's like to drive around, like I see like signs for sets like everywhere I go. You know what I mean? There's just sets everywhere. Not that I see the actual sets, but you know, I'm seeing like the yellow signs, you know, to follow, and it's like, oh, like I wonder what production that is.
Speaking of which, I met at the last show I had, the Santa Fe Winter Market, I met Amber Midthunder, and they were she's on the set, or I'm sorry, on the cast of Roswell.
Oh yeah,
and I met people from that whole production, and it was just a really cool experience. It was kind of crazy was everybody was wearing their masks, so like you couldn't really, you know,
another level of anonymity.
You were just anonymous talking to people. But after the fact, I saw, you know, where she posted, and I was like, oh hey, I did meet you, you know. And you know, I think that's kind of goes back to you just be nice to everybody, because especially these day and age, everybody wearing a mask, you don't know who's who.
And I don't know, I mean, I like, it's really cool to meet celebrities, but it's really cool when you can just have a conversation with someone else, you know what I mean? And it's not like tell me all about your film career. And it's like,
you were telling me about the time you met Harrison Ford, and it was really cool.
But we I was working on that what was it, the Cowboys and Aliens, and we had actually it was actually with your sister Shauna had gotten in on that, and they have a scene where the Apache warriors or whoever it was captured Harrison Ford, and we're bringing him in, and I was in that scene like where they grab him and they're dragging him across and in the process he's like trying to fight, and he ends up at that time he ended up in one of the scenes he loses his hat, and his hat fell down. So like as I'm walking and following the trail, like I go and I pick up his hat, and the call cut, and I'm standing there holding his hat, like trying to get it to him, and he's like, hey kid, give me your hat, give me my hat. And I was like, oh my gosh, Harrison Ford called me kid, because you know, like he always called Luke in Star Wars kid, and he's like, hey kid. And so I was like super excited. I was like, oh my gosh, Harrison Ford, talk to me. That's Han Solo. Do you know?
It's Indiana Jones, man.
Indiana Jones. Like, it's like, I want him to call me Short Round. You know, like. But yeah, he was nice. He kind of like gave off that Clint Eastwood kind of vibe, that like no nonsense, like, hey, you know, that deep gravelly voice. So he's really cool. He was really nice. You know, definitely, if you ever have the chance to meet Han Solo, do it.
Oh, that's so cool.
don't ask him to
don't ask him anything. Just, you know, hand him his hat when he asks for it.
Don't ask him if he made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. He really doesn't like that question. No. Well, I think it's kind of cool. It's just that, you know, we've had the opportunity. I think all of us have had those opportunities to, you know, engage with people who are in, you know, the film industry, and it's always I've always had a really good, pleasant experience with them, you know. So
well, I think that was the cool part about like meeting like Harrison Ford, because like growing up, like Star Wars was such a huge part of my childhood. You know, I had the lightsabers, I had the blasters and everything, and you know, Han Solo was the coolest fictional character. You know,
he smuggled stuff.
He was a
smuggler.
He was the smuggler, and you know, him and Mark Hamill, Laura. Laura. I can't remember her last name. Princess Leia.
I don't think it was Laura.
It wasn't Laura.
No.
Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher. Oh my gosh. Carrie Fisher. Yeah, they were like a big part of my childhood.
I was like Laura.
Super cool.
I just like blanked out. I was like, I know the name. Why am I? Why?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
Mal.
Star Wars.
I think maybe it's time for your nap.
I know. It's early. But yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that's the show for today.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for joining us on this fun journey.
Thanks for
Listening to
spending
us.
time with us.
Yeah, and we definitely appreciate everyone, all of our listeners. Just remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Subscribe.
Prescribe.
Perspire?
Sub.
Perspire?
Smash the like button.
Smash the like.
Subscribe.
Subscribe.
No, really though, check us out. We're on Facebook.
Facebook and Instagram at Off the Reservation Podcast. And yeah, it'd be a lot cooler if you did.
That's it.
That's it.
All right, 22. Let's go.
That's 20. Oh, 22. Yeah.